What's up, weaves, and welcome back to Anime Lane, the podcast where we take you down the yellow brick road of anime and have a look at everything it has to offer. As always, I am your host, Rebel Notorious, and joining me, as always, today is Shaun.
Hello there.
And Melina.
Woo.
And again, for his third, fourth, whatever fucking appearance this is,
Maybe.
Manuele.
Hello.
So today we're going to take a trip to reverse London and Burn the Witch with animation production by Studio Colorido, directed by Tatsuro Kawano. It first screened in Japan on October 2nd, 2020 with a simultaneous release on Crunchyroll and is based on the manga by Teat Kobo that published originally as a one-shot on July 14th, 2018, my birthday, and then ran as a limited series from August 24th, 2020 until September 14th, 2020 in Weekly Shonen Jump. The manga was announced to continue in a second season with the publication of the fourth and currently still final chapter. And then we're diving into the idol entertainment industry in Oshi Noko with animation production by Doga Kobo, series direction by Daisuke Hiromaki, written by Jin Tanaka. It began airing April 12th, 2023 in Japan and simultaneously in English on High Dive. As a recording, 4 episodes have aired. It's based in the manga with story by Akasaka and art by Mengo Yokoyari that began publishing April 23rd, 2020 and currently has 11 volumes in Japan. It was licensed by Yen Press for an English release, and the first volume released January 17th, 2023, with the second and third volume scheduled to release May 23rd and August 2022. Oh my god, August 22nd, 2023, respectively.
Got there.
The first episode was directed by Daisuke Hiromaki, Chao Nekotomi, Asami Nakatani, and Sung Min Kim, and is based almost entirely on the first volume of the manga.
That is a lot of directors.
Wow.
Yeah, I was surprised when I seen 4 directors listed for the first episode, but it makes sense with it being like almost feature length, and it not being like a feature production. They wouldn't have the same staff numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think start with Burn the Witch because I think we all watched that first.
Yeah.
You guys all said you were kind of confused.
None of it made any fucking sense.
Yeah. They just kind of...
As I said, no one burned any witches. First of all.
Disappointed.
So already failed on that front.
Yeah.
They just kind of jump into it. It's like, oh, this is the girl, and she's followed by paparazzi. I'm like, okay, she's famous. Sure. And then she goes through a portal. I'm like, okay. And then we never go back to this world. So
Yeah,
like,
no, the main thing was for me was reverse London. And then I was like, but people live in reverse London, so they know they live in reverse London. I was like, did they go to reverse McDonald's?
yeah.
It's like, where do you live? Reverse, I don't know, random street or reverse.
Reverse Baker Street.
Does it exist, as a parallel to London? Do they occupy the same space?
Well, that was
Yeah,
the interesting thing because like there's a scene where what's his name? Is it Balgo?
Balgo.
Balgo.
Balgor.
Who, by the way, I want to state right now, I fucking hated his character so much.
Oh, is it the Dovahkiin? Is it the Dragon Clad?
The Dragon Clad, the Dovahkiin. He's
him.
sitting reading the paper and he's like, "Oh, you guys aren't mentioned," and she just like runs her finger across the top. And she's like, "Yeah, there's the headlines for Reverse London." And I'm like,
yeah,
what?
you can't just do that.
I have to call someone. Wait, I'm going into reverse London.
grab my reverse phone.
so you buy a normal London newspaper and then have to check the
Why?
What the
But-
fuck?
But how would you buy a
Then-
non-reverse London
But
newspaper in reverse London?
I don't
Exactly.
know.
We're gonna get to it, I guess. But at some point, some character is escorted to reverse London.
Yeah,
From regular London.
The cool character goes and gets the annoying woman and brings her to reverse London, and he just kind of walks through her apartment door.
Yes.
And it looks like
Yeah.
he's come from like a portal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's no real explanation
But
after
they
that.
they live like a kind of a mirror universe.
Yeah.
I
So-
don't know.
I want to go some way to explain this by going back to Bleach, Teat Kobo's other manga, because there is one small reference that I think is meant to try and explain this all the way. Near the end, they fix the like arch sign, and it says Soul Society West Branch.
Yeah.
In Bleach, the Soul Society was like a separate universe connected to ours, and so the assumption there is that the one in Bleach is the East Branch because it's in Japan, and this one is the West Branch in London. But in Bleach, they were very distinctly different places. You went to the Soul Society when you died.
Okay.
And you were there until you were like reincarnated or something like that. It was always a bit loosey-goosey with that.
Okay.
Here, I don't believe that that's the case.
No.
I don't think they're intrinsically linked as far as I can tell through the story. Like they are one and the same. You can't have London without Reverse London in this story.
It feels very
But-
much you can like just
but-
sort of swap between the two on a dime.
But then the people that live in reverse London, do they? Why do they go there? Did they just born in reverse London?
I would have
Yeah.
to assume they're born there because like
But why would they live in reverse
Yeah,
London?
but like, so
I guess
do
they
the
don't have
people
an option.
Do
But
people
why don't they just
from,
go to London?
Yeah,
Maybe
like,
they don't. They can. Maybe they
Like-
can.
But how
so
do they
if
know
you're
there is a
born
London?
in
How-
reverse
Why do they
London,
call
you
it
know
reverse
there's an
London?
actual London. Because why would you be called reverse London?
I just
Yeah.
think that.
but the people from London don't know about reverse
No,
London.
but the worst thing for me for this movie was like you have to suspend your disbelief to an incredible level.
Yeah.
I accept everything that's being thrown at me. I accept it as
Yeah.
truth.
It does that standard sort of urban fantasy thing where like it's a secret world underneath like the normal
Yeah.
world, but the
Except
thing
it's not under it. It's like
I say under is like just a sort of
yeah.
hidden away.
I think
but
that
it's
would
there.
make sense if they were under each other, except they're overlaid on top of each other.
That's
Which is
yeah,
worse.
Yeah.
That's which, and they don't put any effort into explaining things because this movie hates explaining anything
Yeah.
itself.
It just kind of is like throws you in. It's like I want credits. I'm like, what are credits? What are credits?
Like halfway
London,
through,
what do they call the pound scales? What do they
Yeah,
call
scale
them?
pounds.
Scale pounds.
Yeah.
Dragon.
about-
Dragon,
Because
yeah.
dragon.
about like halfway through, is it Minnie? That's her name, like the
I-
blonde one.
Nini?
Nini.
Nini.
Nini. It's Ninny, but I think pronounced
Nini
in English
sounds-
doesn't sound
Yeah,
right
better
at
to
all.
me. But like she says, "Oh, I want to be a specter." It's like a character-defining moment, and I'm like, "Okay, what the fuck is that?" And
Yeah.
then never explained.
This is
Exactly.
the weird thing with it being based on like a limited run manga. There's 5 chapters if you include the one shot, which I think they may have omitted from the adaptation. I haven't read any of it since it all like originally came out. So I
Yeah.
read the one shot in 2018 and then read the manga in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be honest, I don't know if they omitted that or not. I think they did because I'm pretty sure the one shot introduces Nini and Niha and like they how they become like partners. And this just fucking throws you into it.
I really
Yeah.
wish they had adapted the one shot because it
Yeah,
felt like
'cause
I needed an actual introduction to this world.
But the one thing they never explain is the specters, or if they did, I don't remember them explaining it.
Okay, so that's just great.
That's just
Yeah.
there. I think this is meant to be like their version of like I think what would they call them? Bleach, the court guard squads, which was like the high-ranking
Okay.
defenders of the Soul Society.
Okay.
Because sure.
Good for them.
I mean, I can
Yeah.
wrap my head around.
But here it doesn't make any sense because it makes it seem like they're specialized units, whereas in Bleach they were like the standard one. You joined them, and then like if you wanted to go higher, you would become the lieutenant, the vice captain, or the captain.
Yeah.
Whereas here it's just like join Spectre. No, later on the guy's like, I'll let you join the Inks, and I'm like, what the fuck are the Inks?
What's the Inks?
Yeah.
Except he's cool. I like him. I don't remember his name.
This is a supervisor.
The
thing.
guy with
the
the
mask.
The
higher
guy
up-
with the mask.
Oh, the
Which
mask
I-
that
Oh,
moves.
Having read the manga, I did not expect that mask to actually move with his voice. That
Yeah,
threw
that
me
was,
off.
Yeah, it threw me off.
There's
as
like
well.
another anime that has like, I don't think they have like the math move, but like the design of the mask reminded me. Was it like Tokyo Ghoul or something?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's
kind of
cool.
similar. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, are they connected to this?
No.
then? Or is it just a,
No,
a
no, no,
cool
no.
design that they've just taken?
Just a cool design.
I mean, it is a cool design.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's part of like a council thing.
Yeah,
The-
it's
They
the
never
inks.
stopped
That's the
to
inks.
explain. I think
Is it the inks?
I
Is
think
it the
Inks
people
is
that show the
his.
table?
I think the specters are the people around the table, and I think Inks is maybe his
Personal army.
like personal army, because you see them in like blue jumpers, like delinquent.
All
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Okay.
So like
A
lords.
lot of maybes.
A lot of
It's a lot of maybes.
Yeah.
God.
There's a lot of little
Is
maybes.
the whole series out? Is it finished?
No, it's on hiatus. The
What?
4th chapter
So it's dead.
announced at the end that there was going to be a second season, but that was 3 years ago.
It's
Oh.
dead.
But to be fair, I sort of do get maybe why Tite Kubo hasn't released anything since, because he done Bleach as like a weekly manga for like
Is it still
15
going?
years. Bleach.
It's over, right?
Bleach is over.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
But he wasn't in good health at the end, and there was a lot of like you have to deal with the public all the time
Exactly.
during that and
Yeah.
the reception and stuff. So I can see why like he's maybe doing this on a more relaxed schedule.
That's fair then.
I
yeah.
don't know why they would then decide to adapt this like not even 4 months after the manga came out, because
Yeah.
it was August that the limited series started, and then it was October that the anime came out. So it's like two months really.
Christ.
Yeah. So he would have had to have written the script, I think. But I don't get it.
Yeah.
I like it, but like I think I like Kubo's style. Like I like his artwork, I like his designs, and I like Studio Colorido's animation. So like while I'm not totally invested in the story, I like what's going on screen at the very least.
It was just a lot for me.
Yeah.
This wasn't it for me, Chief.
There's a lot of
No.
things left hanging
Yeah.
to like,
Yeah.
oh, we're gonna continue, and like it's it's 3
Yeah.
years later and still
Exactly.
nothing.
Every time like one of those things happened, I was like, no, you're fucking not.
Like the guy that's like their supervisor just
dresses like a
shoots-
janitor, by the way.
who just fucking shoots.
That's
I thought he could have done that 20 minutes earlier.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people
It's
that
such
died in
a
reverse
Deus
London. I
Ex
think they're in
Machina.
I'm gonna
reverse
say this-
Are they reverse London even?
I
At the point?
don't know.
Who knows? I'm gonna say this right now. That's the worst part of this movie
Yeah.
because like, they build up a climax. Like they're gonna have this like actual battle, and it's gonna be like cool, and then they just fucking shoot it, and it's over.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
And if he
I was
was-
genuinely angry at
Yeah,
the movie.
If he was that guy, if he was a character that we knew well as an audience, we could have been like, he saves the day.
But there
we
is
don't
so
fucking
little
know
that
him.
you know well in this movie. You just don't.
No.
They try, but they don't give him enough screen
Yeah.
time to really justify
Then
that.
there's also Balgo. What's his name?
I hate the guy I hate. Yeah.
Yeah. He just gets a sword.
Yeah, he
and
does.
nothing.
That's nothing
with
with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, okay, he's gonna get a sword, and we're gonna get like a battle, whatever, and
And
like,
he's gonna kill Dragon.
yeah, he's gonna be cool now, and then they just fucking shoot him, and it's over.
Yeah. Well, he's a dragonclad.
I don't care
which
about
means-
the dragon flag.
He attracts dragons, so take him with you.
I
Take
think what
him
makes
with you.
that whole Dragonclad thing worse is that they bring in the other girl at the end, and he's like, she's a light case of Dragonclad. So I'm like, so there's a varying
there's a
scale.
Spectrum,
Yeah.
yeah, it can be just slightly dragon
Yeah, a little
clad.
bit.
They introduced
And they all wear
Balgo the worst fucking way possible.
Yeah.
I just want to say, there's just this kid floating around with
a
this
dog.
dog with wings.
Dragon
and they're
wings.
like, oh, we have to go pick him up. Also, this dog speaks, but it speaks only one fucking sentence.
You want to know what the sentence is?
I forgot her name because I think she's.
Niha.
Yeah.
He could only just say, Niha, I want to see your,
Your
panties.
panties.
Yeah.
Except for most of the movie, we only hear that I want to see your panties part, and then
Yeah.
it's at
Yeah.
the end we hear the full thing, and she like tries to kill it. I don't get that.
No, because it was an adorable
Like,
creature.
it really sets
Adorable.
up at the end in that last scene that they're like a thing.
Yeah.
That she
Yeah.
actually does like him, and then suddenly
Why?
switch. Yeah, I don't get it.
I mean, all he does during the movies just talks about her boobs.
Yeah.
to be fair,
That's his only dark.
We just had to talk about the over-sexualization of women in anime. We can't do this.
it's not the anime that sexualized her.
It is.
That's not an excuse.
That one's entirely on me.
Also, just a practicality thing. The dragons they have, the small ones, must be so uncomfortable to sit on.
I think they're
Has
meant
big
to
wings.
mimic like
Broomsticks.
broomsticks. Yeah.
Yeah, still a seat, a saddle would have been,
Anything.
practical. Some storage.
Storage. Give him pockets.
Give 'em pockets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just seems better than just holding.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
honestly surprised there's not like a scene where someone pulls a massive hammer just from like behind their back out of nowhere, like
Yeah,
Classic hammer
exactly. It
space.
just doesn't work. No.
So we are not missing much context.
I
Maybe
wouldn't say
as-
so.
okay.
Maybe the one shot, but that only really introduces the main characters. Everything else is
Okay.
just
Because it was it originally released as episodes or it's just a full movie?
it
and it's
aired
like-
as a movie in Japan, and then it was
And that's
3
it.
episodes on Crunchyroll.
Okay. I don't know. It's just
It was-
confusing.
It was a confusing ride. I'm trying to think if it's anything, but I was just confused because it starts on a note. It was like, ooh, a famous person. That's my little niche. And I'm like, oh, we never talk about it again, and we don't know what the fuck the relation is or what she does for a living.
Unfortunately,
Okay.
that would have been interesting, and that's not where this movie
It does
wants to
explain
go.
what she does though. Like she's a singer and like a artist.
In a group?
An actor.
In a group, yeah.
As well, I think.
She's an actress?
I don't think it mentioned her being an actress.
No.
No.
I
fucking
did
don't.
mention
It
I
mentioned
mainly
her
thought
doing
singer.
idol stuff like
Yeah.
Perfect Blue.
Yeah.
Because
Didn't translate
that's why Dragon Girl goes crazy. She
Yeah.
she had
Yeah.
to act hot but didn't feel hot.
That feels like it should be the main plot, but it's also treated like a subplot.
Yeah.
It really is.
This woman commits an act of terrorism on
Yeah.
the wrong building.
So she's not a good terrorist.
Doesn't know where she
Well,
is.
you know what I mean.
Doesn't
And then
know
they're
the-
like, well, if you're human and you touch a dragon,
Yeah,
you get
that I don't get. I don't.
You get killed. You get
Yeah.
sentenced
Did
to
the
You're not
dragon
allowed to
touch
touch-
you?
at the
You
end,
get
you're like,
put to
at
the
the end-
gulags.
And I was thinking about it, I was like, well, she touched a dragon, is she gonna die? And then like, she's also a dragon clad, so she's
Oh,
fine.
It's cool, guys.
Thankfully.
It's cool, guys. It's cool.
Yeah.
There's
cool,
a
she's cool.
distinction apparently.
Yeah.
This has reminded me. Can I talk about the fact that they put a bounty on like Balgo?
Oh yeah,
The
no,
whole
they
movie.
put a kill order and then a bounty.
Yeah, until they realize that hey, we could use them to get super cool dragons if we want. So let's just not kill them now.
Which I find weird because it's not him that brings the
No.
like legendary dragon.
No.
It's the woman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But apparently because he touched her.
he touched her. Yeah,
Yeah.
So they, like, just touch, but he touches other people too. No.
Yeah, yeah.
That's so stupid.
He
I
rides
just
with
thought
like
about
Nini
it.
and
Yeah.
Mihal all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
It's just a shitty excuse so they don't have to kill him, which I
Yeah.
hate because I really wanted
Yeah.
them to kill him in the end.
Yeah. He
I-
deserved it.
Yeah.
I really hope that Kubo does come back and like writes more because I'd like to see where it goes and if he can
flesh it out, make it
flesh
good.
it out and
Yeah.
make it like a good book because these are like a lot of trappings of like I am just dumped into the second, third, and fourth episode of this
Yeah,
long running
Yeah.
series, and you currently you're not.
I did think about like halfway through that this has like the opposite problem of like Dragon Dentist, whereas that felt like a whole series condensed into like a sort of like 2-part mini-series, whereas this one feels like it's just right in the middle of a season
Yeah.
with no beginning or end.
Exactly. Yeah. We're supposed to just know.
Yeah.
You're supposed to know how the credits work. You're supposed to know how the fucking money works. Because apparently, Nini has money from normal London. Because it's mentioned, oh, you don't need money. You make enough.
Yeah, she just wants the reputation, which
Yeah.
like
Because she
But so
again
there's-
doesn't get explained.
So the money's the same. I
maybe
think.
they can go to like
an
cash
exchange.
converters.
Yeah. What's the
Why are they
exchange
called
rate?
witches?
I don't
Because
know.
at some point they never mention witches.
No, they say
Once again.
wizard.
It's
Well,
a
there
big
is
wizard.
a-
Witches
witches.
and wizards. I'm like, that's,
They have-
that's a thing.
They
Explain.
have wizards
Thing.
slash witches on like the police tape.
Again,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's
Got-
something that might be explained in the one shot, and for some reason they've just come in
Yeah,
and not.
lovely.
I feel like they should have included the stuff for the one
I
shot.
think so,
'Cause
especially because it's a
it's
6
an hour.
Yeah, it's an
right?
hour, so they could have filled in the other half
Yeah.
hour, like with the one shot.
Yeah.
Exactly. Nope.
No,
No. Okay.
What's the reception for this? Do you
I
know?
think it was generally kind of regarded
If people
quite
liked
well.
him, like, what's wrong with you? What?
I liked it.
What's wrong with you?
I like Kubo, and I've read the manga.
Exactly.
So.
If you have already have a connection to it, you kind of know what's supposed to be going on. You might like it, but
I don't.
no, same.
I just don't.
You get dropped in there, you're like, you know. It's like, no, I don't.
know. Explain.
The one shot is still enjoyable. Yeah. What about the rest?
It doesn't
Yeah.
mention reception of the anime.
It's odd.
That's a bad sign.
Burn the Witch anime
We're doing
reception.
deep research here, dear
Deep
viewer.
research, absolutely.
Do we? Oh, I don't really know if I want to trust my anime list reviews.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I see 3 stars and a half. Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's
a
that's
bit
my
generous.
anime list. That doesn't really.
Say anything.
No.
No.
I mean, you can check because they changed it recently, so like it's now recommended, not recommended, and mixed feelings. It used to be like show you like their out of 10 score, whereas now it doesn't. Mixed feelings, recommended, mixed feelings, recommended. Yeah, not.
Very.
Yeah, and I can get it. Like if you're not familiar with Bleach or Kubo's work,
But I feel like we're rating like a long series, just judging by the first 3 episodes. It's a bit unfair.
yeah.
But still, if you look at it as a movie, I'm like, I have no clue.
I really do think it has the trapping of like you've missed the first 2 episodes of like a long running show and suddenly you're coming
Yeah.
in at episode 3 or something like
Exactly.
that. So yeah, I can totally get if like you didn't enjoy it, why.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we've said
Adorable dog. horrible dialogue from the dog.
Yeah, that's fair. I like the designs. I like the animation.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
animation
animation's
is
good.
like the best part of the movie. It's just too
Yeah.
bad everything else I don't like.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I like the character design for the main asshole.
Balgo.
Not Balgo.
No, the
the
other
other
one.
The other
Oh,
one.
the
mask
mask guy.
The mask guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Balgo kind
Yeah,
of
what's
looks
his
like
name?
Ichigo from Bleach.
I don't
in
know.
some
I don't know what
shots.
his name is.
No, I don't know anyone's name. Except for Mimi.
And Osushi.
It's his name was Sushi.
No,
The
that's
dog?
a dog.
Yeah, no.
So you got Nenny
Was it Bruno?
Spangle,
Is it Bruno?
Noel
I think-
Nihashi.
Yeah, it's Bruno because I remember his,
Yeah.
his last
Bruno
name being
Bang
Bang
Knife.
Knife.
This reminds me of the Super Famicom games. Roy B. Dipper.
Yeah, Roy B. Dipper was the moment I was like, oh, these are just Japanese.
He's-
Wolfgang
names made American.
Slash Out.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
like
yeah.
he's the person in charge of
Oh,
the
yeah.
witches.
Yeah, yeah.
Wolfgang.
It's
German.
It is very
Yeah.
strange if you've read or watched Bleach, because a lot of these characters are stand-ins for people that were in Bleach.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
different
like
names?
the designs are very similar.
Who's Billy Banks Jr.?
He's the son of
making
Billy Banks
bank.
Sr.
Senior.
He's
Don't call me Mr. Banks.
he's the guy that shoots.
Oh, he's the
Billy
shooting.
Banks?
He's the janitor sniper.
No way.
Yeah,
There he is.
It
Mr.
looks
Billy.
Like, it looks like Old Man Jiggin.
Yeah. So yeah, that's
God.
No way.
He does look like
He's
old man
Billy.
Vegan.
No way, that's Bill.
That's Billy Banks.
can't
Billy
believe
Banks
it.
Jr.
Also, can we talk about the fact that they didn't subtitle that scene where it's going around the table and showing you all the characters? They didn't subtitle the names, despite the fact that half of them are just unreadable because of how they're designed.
Oh yeah, it's just shown on.
It's just
as a
shown on the
graphic.
screen. It's
Yeah.
as a graphic.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to read them and I'm like, I don't know what that says.
I did not read Slash Out when I saw it on.
Yeah, I couldn't read his last name either.
I
Slash
could
Out.
read them.
I couldn't read most of them.
I like
Sullivan Squire.
Sullivan Squire, the most English name.
Who's a woman? Oh, she's the one that like
Is it
catches him sneaking around, which we never get explained.
No.
Wait, what?
She's
the
the one
scene
that
that
finds the
happened.
boxes at the
Oh,
end
right,
and
okay,
sees
okay.
that he shot the
Yeah.
thing.
The
and
one
she's
dressed like a Nazi.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Again, I seen that and I was like,
Don't do this
actually,
again.
hold on. I gotta show you guys. What were they called in Bleach?
That is a title.
Yeah, because again, very reminiscent of not those. Those are the court guard squads. There they are.
Ah,
The
okay.
Quincy's. And
Yeah, I see that.
Looks like One Piece. The
Yeah.
the art style.
Yeah, no, they are even the clothes. They remind me of what are they called? The Seven. I haven't watched One Piece.
Oh,
so
the
long ago.
the Marines.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about the comparison because they're very different artistically. Yeah.
Just
Oda's
vibes.
I don't know.
Oda has a very maximalist art style, and Kubo has like a very minimalist. Anyway, I think we should move on from
Yeah.
Yeah,
this. We're kind of. I don't think there's much else we
No.
can
it's
say.
just-
Do we want to do rankings?
I don't know where I'd rate this. I think again it's hard because it feels like you're in the middle of stuff, and
Yeah.
I'd maybe say 7 out of 10 just because I did enjoy it, but you know it's fine.
I
don't know.
I was thinking around like a 4 out of 10
Yeah,
because
same for
there
me.
are elements that could be really good. There's stuff you can like build on. It's just actually attempt to make a story out of it that makes sense and actually give context for stuff.
Yeah.
And it would be good, but the fact that it doesn't makes this just a bad movie.
Yeah. I also had 4 in mind. Yeah.
I just feel it's unfair. You judge, no, judge on,
Well,
you know,
you have
like
to.
something like no, because if I had to rate, I would rate it as is. If someone asked me what is the movie about, and I would just say I have no clue. That's my rating. I have no clue.
I have no clue.
I have no clue.
I have no clue what you're talking about.
Fair.
If I had to try and summarize
Denies
it,
Things happen.
no idea.
So you think it would be unfair to
Unfair to judge it
rank it
as
10?
no. I'm unfair to judge it as it's just episodes in a series. It's like trying to judge a whole series by looking at 3 episodes. Unfair in that sense.
Okay, but they are episodes on as a movie on its own. So
This was released
Yeah.
as a movie.
I would just say, nice 4.
Nice 4. Yeah.
fair enough.
A good 4.
Cool. So
Yeah.
we'll move on to Oshi no Ko. Oh, you looked very angry.
You started. I love, like, you picked a story that started so well and then took the weirdest fucking
That's
turn.
true. I had high hopes.
Yeah, like, it began, I was like, ooh,
Because
my little
so
niche.
for context, I told you guys nothing about this. Gave you no
No.
description. Told you not to look
I mean,
it
the
up.
way you talked about it to me made it sound ominous. So
Yeah.
I was sort of going in with
Same.
like, this is gonna be something.
Yeah, I told you guys not to look into it. Just watch it
Yeah.
and get like an unfiltered
Yeah.
reaction. How did that go?
Holy shit.
It starts out and you're like, yes, okay. And then they start hinting at reincarnation a little too much.
Yeah, like there's 2 very explicit points in like the
Yeah.
first like 20 minutes where like the sick girl that he looked after that died talks about it, and then there's these random 2 other guys that's watching the TV that talk about it. I'm like, okay, weird that you
That's
brought it
odd.
up twice. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep an eye on that, but and then
I'm gonna keep an eye on that.
And then, oh, what's this? The idol that we've been idolizing suddenly
She-
shows
she-
up to this hospital
she
in the middle of
pregante.
fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
she pregante.
Pregnant.
And she
Preganinat.
preganinat. At 16.
At 16.
El
With twins.
preganto.
With twins.
With
Yeah.
twins,
And she's
yeah.
like halfway through term.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
she,
Yeah.
we talked about she got, pregnant.
Which is
at
funny
15 and a
because
half.
the manager's like, are you gonna carry them to term? And I'm like, oh, it's way past
Yeah, you can't
abortion.
really-
Like you
Yeah,
can't.
she's so
Yeah.
big. And then it's like 9 months and she's the same. I was like, and
Yeah.
then it's like, okay, they're twins. Okay, but she should be even bigger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're fucking huge.
She looks the
planet.
same. Yeah.
Also, them expecting, like, oh, you can't give her a C-section, it'll leave a scar. She can give birth naturally. You think a 16-year-old body's not gonna have stretch marks all
Yeah,
over?
I thought that too.
Like, it's
It's
gonna leave
anime.
the same
There's gonna be
amount.
marks no matter what, my dude.
To be
Yeah.
fair, I think throughout the movie it was like, oh, this is kind of like Perfect Blue.
Mm.
I was
I've been
like,
waiting
I
to-
said earlier, beat by beat. It's not really beat by beat, but like
It's
the
a
stalker,
modern interpretation.
the
Yeah.
stalker, now she's becoming an actress
It's the stalker part
with
specifically
the
that
weird
gave me that.
Yeah.
reborn children twist.
Could be without.
This is,
Yeah.
I think, if you made Perfect Blue now with all the things that have developed in
The idol
technology,
industry.
idol industry, and like social
like
culture.
Twitter and social. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
true.
think this is how that story would be told because reincarnation stories are a dime a dozen in anime for some
Yeah.
reason.
I've heard about this one. I don't know if I talked to you about it. Like, this guy gets reincarnated into a dog.
Oh, let's
Oh,
not
there's so
talk
many.
about it. Let's not.
Isn't it like a? It's infamous, right? It's a bit of a
Yeah.
What?
the guy reincarnated into a dog.
Yeah.
The dog of his crush.
I'm unaware of all of this.
Let's not talk about Inu-san.
I watched the video about it.
Yeah.
It was like the worst.
I have been trying to
Yeah.
avoid it like the
Yeah.
fucking plague.
I think
danger.
I said you should watch it for Anime.
Yeah, I think so.
Please no! Don't put me through that.
Yeah, but it's
Was it a
Creep.
manga or anime?
it's an
It got
anime.
adapted into an
Of
anime.
course,
It aired
the
Well,
high
it
last
did.
demand, the
year.
high is demand.
I think it came out winter last year or something.
Yeah, but this
So
is
this one
something.
too is a series that's been adapted, or is it's
Yeah.
not because we know there's like
This is
things
the
at the end
first
that are open.
episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, because there's so many things unanswered. I was like,
I
no one is.
recommended it.
He falls down, right? He falls down the. You
Yeah.
get pushed. To be fair,
Yeah.
and he dies, and then they're like, he's dead. I was like, well, so it means they found the body.
No.
And then at the end of the movie, like, we never found the body. How do you know he's dead?
Yeah. It's fair. Also, his dying thought was, maybe I'll be reincarnated as well. I'm like, that is not a
And then she
normal
wakes
human
up and
fucking
is like,
thought.
Guess what?
Holy
Guess what
shit.
happened?
Right,
Hey,
Chief.
you don't know. You don't know what it's like. If you've never almost died before.
But they make it clear to kind of say they are fully sentient as
Yeah.
their previous
Yeah, yeah,
selves. As
Which
It
is
means they
not
shit their
common for
pants
reincarnation
constantly.
stories.
No.
so they're babies, but they know.
Here's the
They
thing,
know,
so it means
they
they could
remember.
go to the toilet, but they're like, I'll just choose to shit my pants.
this is
Gotta
this is
keep
a
up
weird
the
thing
illusion.
that wasn't brought up in the adaptation. In the manga, they do mention that they struggle to
Pretend.
That will make sense.
not to pretend,
Yeah.
but to control their bodies. And,
Yeah.
like,
I remember.
the
I
only
think
thing
they only
that's-
show once
yeah.
when he's walking,
Uh-huh.
and he was like, my body, I feel it gets tired because it's a 4-year-old
Yeah,
body.
that-
Yeah, needs a
But
nap.
it's the only time
that's like a
they
separate
mention
thing
it.
in the manga, but there is like a full thing of like both of them struggle to like, because they're toddlers, they have like limited
Yeah.
what they can do, and they just never brought up in the anime.
No. I love that they were like, we must mention the breastfeeding. I was like, I would have preferred if you didn't, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the man, I'm just going to call him a man, even though he's a toddler. This
As a young man.
He's like, it feels wrong. Like, oh, get off your fucking high
So
horse.
how did he tell his mom, like, no,
No, thank you.
He just
bottle?
shook his
Yeah,
head.
he shook his head
It's this,
until she gave him the bottle.
fresh out of the womb baby was like,
That's so
mother,
weird.
no.
I feel like as a critique of the idol industries,
Mm,
it would have worked so well.
yeah.
But the fucking rebirth. thing.
Yeah. That's the linchpin that just sort of makes this really weird.
Also,
Yeah.
it's the 12-year-old girl. She died at,
that's what we
at
said.
age
She died at
12.
12.
Serena.
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 Yeah.
She died at 12.
Uh-huh.
For
I don't get the whole 4 years thing.
Yeah,
I
like
don't
was she
get
just
it.
in limbo for
I
4
don't
years?
know.
She's
I
just
don't
floating.
know.
He's like, if only. I'll wait.
Yeah,
to
hold on,
be
it's not
real. I'll wait.
time yet.
It's not
Gonna
time.
wait a
Is
few
she
years.
pregnant? She's pregnant.
She's just watching her.
No, God came down and was like, if you can just wait a bit here.
They both know the children. They both know they're reincarnated.
Yeah.
But
They
they
don't.
kind of avoid their previous lives. But why wouldn't they just talk like, I was a doctor in this hospital?
He knows
It's a general
her,
thing
Yeah.
with
but she doesn't
reincarnation
know
stories
it's him.
that you
Yeah.
don't
Talk about it.
talk about it. Yeah. First rule of
First rule of-
reincarnation.
They-
Don't
they-
talk
there's
about
also,
being
like,
his life.
reincarnated.
There's also a part of like, I'm calling her Ruby just because
Yeah,
that's the only name I remember.
Aquamarine.
Ah,
To be fair, I like
To be
that
fair,
he is
they
also.
address it. They're like, it's a name that's not
Yeah.
gonna...
yeah.
Even the guy's like, this
Repercussions.
name embarrasses me.
Good.
Ruby does have that thought near like the end of the film where she's like, if he finds out that I'm just like a 12-year-old or whatever,
Yeah.
and he's like an adult man, he's gonna be like, I'm the adult then.
Yeah, because he does ask, but like it's very quickly swept under the rug because you
Yeah.
don't. I think that would probably like remove some dramatic tension because I think
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
the thing there of like, I assume at some point they might find out
Probably.
who they were in their past
Yeah.
lives.
I mean, there's too much of a connection between their past
Yeah,
lives.
and I'm glad
Yeah.
that they didn't bring that up because I don't want to know the route the story would go down.
Yeah, same.
No. Also, how old is this man supposed to be? I'm guessing
Uh,
he's a doc, full-blown doc, so at least 30.
He would have
Yeah.
been about 30ish. I
30-ish
think.
is what I thought.
He would be okay marrying a 16-year-old.
I mean, he never outright says it in his defense.
He implies.
I mean, it's
heavily
implied.
implied. I think he says he would date her.
Yeah.
So,
But,
you know.
it's like I would date an idol. That's their way of thinking.
And I'm not
Uh.
gonna defend this because it's morally fucked up, but
Good.
legally speaking,
Yeah, we
in
talk about
Japan,
age of consent. Is it 14?
it's 13.
13.
So legally speaking,
But see, but it's like in Italy it's 16, but we know that it's actually 18. You know, like
Yeah.
legally
Yeah, like,
16, but no one
Yeah.
says, "Oh, I have a loophole. I have 2 years,
This-
so they can do whatever I want."
Mhm.
This
Yeah.
could be misinformation on my part, but I always heard that like 13 was like the federal sort of like age, but every sort of state or province in like Japan age pushes up.
not as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
I mean, that could just be something
Is
I've
it-
never read.
Like
before.
I could be wrong.
Is it one of those rules where, if they're 13 and 14, it's okay, but, 13 and 40, no.
Yeah,
Yeah, no.
I think because he mentioned 16, I think there is some sort of specification there, but I think there's like a scaling age thing with it.
Ah, yeah,
It's like if you're even though they're 16, if you're over a certain age type thing.
Yeah.
Because when he sees her pregnant and she's 16, he says, "Oh, she must have a hard life or something."
I think so.
He makes a remark. So I'm like, well,
Yeah, before
it's
he
not
knows
the-
it's her.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
yeah.
it means it's not the usual, you know.
No, it's not.
Even-
I don't think it's common in Japan.
I mean, we're talking about a country that's very heavily sexually repressed, so
Yeah.
I mean,
you wouldn't know it by watching anime.
no.
Not at all. What gave
What?
it away?
That's crazy.
I mean, someone put their fetish right up on screen with fucking the dog one. You know?
yeah, exactly. But the fact they mention lolicons, and I'm like,
Yeah,
a bit on
I
the
wish I
nose.
left, yeah.
bit on the nose. We know. We all know. Yeah, but the 12-year-old girl, I feel like they dumb her down too much. She's 12.
But then at some point she goes into a monologue about reincarnation or something, where she's looking out the window, like, where is this coming from?
Yeah, like she's meant to be like just obsessed with her mom. That's her only characteristic. She's obsessed and doesn't have any.
Where are her
moral-
parents?
I mean, she was
Good question.
She was in the hospital.
Yeah,
so I
yeah,
assume
but
the
they
parents
never,
were
like-
around, but like probably had
Limited.
work and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Not
so-
No, but
important to
he
the
also
story.
doesn't give a shit about her old parents. She died as a 12-year-old, and she only
mean-
cares about. I get the idol thing, but
Sure.
I mean,
I
to
don't
be fair,
know.
she's been dead for 4 years. So.
that's true.
Fuck my mom. She's fine.
We want to talk about monologues that come the fuck out of nowhere. By the way, the director to like.
You
Aqua.
called the director creepy.
He was a little creepy.
Yeah.
He was a bit creepy.
I didn't find him that creepy. No.
He
It
just
wasn't
had a bit of
overtly,
a-
but there was just like a little subtle thing.
The first thing when I saw him, I was like, "Oh, you direct porn."
Yeah.
That's just the vibe I got. Like as soon as
it,
they
it looks
introduced
more
him,
sleazy than creepy.
Yeah,
to
yeah,
me.
that's probably
He's
more
very
accurate.
like the
Creepy.
archetypal disheveled director
Yeah.
type.
yeah,
To get
For
back
sure.
to my point, the monologue that comes out of nowhere, like Aqua starts like talking to like he acknowledges that he says some those are very like polite words that like a 4-year-old wouldn't know, and he immediately goes into a monologue into like the
Yeah.
intricacies of like TV production, like actors and all that. I'm like, dude, you realize this is still a 4-year-old. I don't care how
that's
smart
the
you
way
think
they
he is.
interact with the children. They're like, they can talk. That's great.
They all
just
very
don't talk.
quickly accept that
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
like intelligent.
like I'm all for talk to young children like they're adults because it helps their development.
Yeah.
But you're not gonna go to a 4-year-old who's probably like, I like pink. It's like,
Yeah.
okay,
I think if I am to defend this in any way, I think it's one downside of this being a prelude to the
Yeah.
rest of the story.
Yeah, yeah.
Is they've had to heavily condense, because that's my only issue
That I
with this
get.
section of the story, is that I think some of it's either too quickly paced or a lot of the characters are just too quick to accept the situations that are going on.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that that's because it's like a very quick.
Yeah.
Okay, we have 10 chapters and let's get into the main
Yeah, when
story.
they're like, we are the children of we are gods. We're
Yeah,
getting-
like-
At some point,
She's
they're
like,
like-
what? That's crazy. You're getting a new husband. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
on board with this.
Like they make a point to be
and
like,
then they never talk about that anymore.
No.
Eventually, I'm
No.
like, you're my children now. It's-
and like,
I also,
these
like,
are
what-
demons according
What I
to
don't
you.
remember
No,
from
gods.
Oh
the
gods.
I don't remember from the manga is at the end when Aqua goes up to the director and he's like,
Raise
would
me.
you raise me?
Raise me.
That's not what I remember him saying in the manga. I remember him asking him to take him under his wing,
That
Oh,
makes more
okay,
sense.
that's
which
way
makes
different.
way more sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
So at the end, in that final scene when they're leaving the house, I'm like, are they with the mum?
Yeah,
Like the person who's like,
Yeah.
I will adopt you because I see you as my children, or are they with the director who I cannot see being a functional
No,
fucking
no,
parent?
no.
Yeah.
I had the
Yeah.
same questions.
The fact that at the end, I mean, again, the idol thing, it's all a lie. It's all, they had so it's like a the
Yeah, I like-
Yeah, we're not
construct. It's
focusing on the
real.
actual message of this at
Yeah,
all.
exactly, exactly. And it's like, when at the end she's like, I'm a liar, etc., etc. And it's just like they explain all of this in the last 3 minutes of her life, and it's like, I grew up in a family home and whatever, and so I'm a liar. I've been lying. I don't love anyone. But if you explore that during the story, because you say the idol industry is a lie, it's all fake, but it's never shown that she is.
There's a lot of internal monologue and narration
Yeah.
cut from the manga, and there is sections that I am I can get why they didn't include it, but I think would make more sense if they included it. Is at the beginning of every chapter, there's like a small snippet of like the future where they're making like a movie about Ai's life, and so Aqua's in it, Ruby's in it, and there's interviews with the directors as well, and so it hints that she's dead. You don't know how, and it hints at her outlook on life and all
Right.
this sort of stuff, and they just totally cut that. And I think it kind of that all went some way to seeding into
Okay,
understanding her
why
character.
did they choose to make it this short? Like, because it's just an hour and a half. They could have done, more one-to-one adaptation.
I think
and do-
just in terms of like structure, I think they cut it because
Okay.
it wouldn't make sense.
Because
and
they're
they
still
adapted
releasing it in
for it.
movies, not as episodes.
No, they're releasing it as episodes, but I think
Oh.
because of the way they're like because it is being adapted, like they're at the beginning of every chapter, which would have released like every week.
Okay.
So when you're adapting that into an anime, you kind of have to go, well, those don't make sense
Yeah.
as like scene transitions or
Yeah,
necessarily.
I see.
I just feel like this and Burn the Witch, they're like, they have the syndrome of, well, there is a manga. Like, what if I don't know anything about the manga?
Yeah, what
I
if I'm
just
coming
watch
in
stuff-
blind?
Yeah.
Then
Is that-
this
I
is the
missed
first
so much.
episode, so
Yeah.
this is the introduction.
Okay.
There's
Like-
there's
Well, yeah,
what comes
yeah,
after, but
yeah.
that's like, as far as I'm concerned, that's a whole different
Yeah.
story.
No, but
Yeah.
there are some aspects like, well, in the manga they're explained better. Like,
I
take
mean
me
that
under the
always
wing.
happens with manga adaptations, though.
okay, but very. I usually don't feel as lost as I felt.
I
for
think
these
a
two,
lot
you
of
know?
what we've watched though is like independent stuff.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like
Yeah,
original
exactly.
stories. This
It
is
all
like,
comes round.
yeah, whereas I don't think we've tackled a lot of like manga adaptations, or if we have, it's been stuff like Galaxy Express, which is like a
Yeah.
total rewrite of the material.
Mm-hmm.
So that is one problem with like manga adaptations. There's always going to be stuff that gets cut for one reason or another.
Yeah.
Because manga has a lot of like narration and monologue that doesn't necessarily make sense when you adapt it to the
that's
animation.
true. But if I think about like Dragon Ball Z or what do you call it? Tiger Man? Is it called Tiger Man? It's like a wrestling manga.
Tiger Mask?
Yeah, Tiger Mask. It's Tiger Mask.
I don't know what. I've heard of it. I don't know what it
Yeah,
is.
it's even though you don't need the manga to understand the story if you just watch the anime. You know what I mean. For this, I feel like
Yeah,
you
I'd
need-
say it's an apple to oranges comparison though, because they're
Could be,
largely
yeah.
different. Like that Dragon Ball is a shonen series, which is
yeah, no, that's true.
quite dumb in comparison. No offense to
no,
Dragon
no,
Ball.
that's
yeah.
true, but
It's not the highest brow story
Exactly.
material.
Yeah.
Which I think potentially Oshinoko could fall into the same category as the story progresses. I don't think it's going to maintain what held me through this first volume and the first episode. I don't think it would continue with like that same dramatic tension.
Yeah. Like it for me this like I liked the idol message like, oh, it's all a lie, and she's like, yeah, but I don't want to lie, and the director's like, no, we all do, it's fine, and she tries to make herself stop lying by continuing. I liked that part a lot, but I think it was overshadowed by reincarnated babies.
Yeah.
I think this is the issue of like, because it needs to go on.
Yeah.
There's, yeah,
I guess it's
Yeah.
gonna shift to a murder mystery.
it's gonna shift to like a revenge story.
I thought it was going
right.
to shift into a detective show.
I think
nearly.
it's gonna become them breaking into the idol industry and working their way up.
Yeah, because they do mention that Ruby's going to become an idol, Aqua is going to be an actor, probably,
Yeah,
director.
which
fuck
as
if I know.
far as I know from like the intercuts that they cut out, that's what happens.
Oh,
So they foreshadow all of that because they
Okay.
make like a movie about Ai's life, and I assume Ruby plays Ai.
Makes
Maybe,
sense.
Yeah.
Also, the entire movie, we were looking for any blonde dude to see who the fuck
Yeah,
it was.
yeah. The father.
But
But
then
to
we,
be fair, she had purple hair.
yeah,
It's
then
a
at
bit
some point we were
weird.
like, well, this is anime, so
I mean,
like genetics don't really.
she could have dyed her hair, I guess.
The thing
'Cause
is,
it's-
genetics might not work, but like they make a point to have one of their eyes be all sparkly.
Yeah.
Like, for the kids.
Yeah.
And she's
Yeah.
got like two sparkly eyes, so.
Which
So you need the guy with
disappear
one
when-
nose
So
backwards.
anime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was definitely, I don't want to say almost a caricature, but she was extreme. Like,
I think that's
Yeah.
like an
purposefully done.
intentional thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
I wouldn't necessarily say it's like a critique of the idol industry so much as like it's a cynical look at entertainment.
That
in
could be
general.
as well, yeah, for sure.
I don't know, like none of it carries the same weight as I think Perfect Blue. I think this very much just
No.
feels like, it's kind of fucked, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
What
Again,
can you do?
I think
Yeah.
its message overall is good. Like the whole lying thing, love that. But I
But she
understand.
dies.
But then she dies.
That main whole point is literally
Yeah.
cut off.
Which again
Yeah.
is kind of, I guess, the point, fan culture and the
Yeah.
rabidness of that
Yeah,
in,
yeah.
in
It's-
Japan. But at the
yeah.
same time, he then commits suicide. So,
I was
you know.
expecting him because he ran out of the apartment,
He
and
was
we
go-
were
he's
both
gonna
like,
bu-
he's gonna just
jump
jump.
on
yeah,
the
he's gonna fall over the railing.
No, I feel like in Perfect Blue they explored the sense of obsessiveness, obsession,
Yeah. And the
And
psyche
this-
as well. And,
yeah. And so you see the guy building up this like stalkerish kind
Yeah.
of thing, and the new stalker for this one, he just shows up and kills two people,
Yeah.
and then kills himself, and that's all he does. And it's like, okay, you didn't really show that. You show like, oh, they have many like more followers than me, or they talk shit about me on Twitter. I'm like,
I think
okay, but it doesn't have the same weight as a stalker actually.
Yeah, like-
think
Yeah.
the way they kind of try to paint that is like you expect I to not know who it is, so they make it so that you don't know who it is, and then
yeah,
at the end there's that realization of, oh, she does remember him
Yeah, that's true.
type thing.
Even that you don't know that. You just
yeah,
you just
at the
take
same-
it for
at
granted.
the
Like,
same time,
okay,
she's like, I don't remember names
Yeah,
very well,
yeah.
and it's like, yeah,
Oh.
he could just go, bitch, who the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're him. Yeah. It's like, You're Notorious. She didn't remember her children's names.
Yeah.
But she remembers
I
this one
yeah,
fan.
in the beginning, they make it seem like she's stupid.
Yeah.
Kinda.
Yeah.
And then she's like, I always lie. It's like this dark person. I'm like, is she stupid? Or is she just a stupid, dark person?
I think she's stupidly smart.
Yeah.
She's maybe perhaps a bit naive.
Yeah.
Low wisdom, high knowledge.
Aloof.
Or the other way around. Something along those lines.
Low wisdom, low knowledge. But somehow they make like a
Still
positive somewhere in the middle.
intelligence.
Yeah.
You know, it's like 2 minuses make a plus.
Yeah. We don't know what stat it's in, but you know.
She's got something.
There's something there for sure.
Yeah.
Idiot savant perk from Fallout.
I would say that's more the Aqua's thing.
Yeah, maybe.
He's like an idiot savant. I just love how like when she gets stabbed, he just randomly throws out, "Oh my god, it's her aortic," blah blah blah, and I'm like,
Yeah.
dude,
Because he's a doctor, don't you know?
Yeah.
Did you forget?
I looked, after I watched it, I checked the Wikipedia page, and just the description, it says he's a gynecologist.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, well,
Why did
they
you
don't
know-
show that. First of all, they just say, okay, no, he's gonna deliver the babies.
Oh no, they do show it.
It makes
He
sense.
walks into the room and there's a sign that says gynecology.
No,
Yeah.
but I missed that. Look, it's
That's not. That's
No. I'll
Something
defend that
else.
because the subtitle for that did come up really fast and then disappeared.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a subtitle. I think it was written in English on screen.
I think
Yeah.
it's like a subtitle, but
I'm
they
a
made it
subtitle
smartly.
in the screen.
It's nice on the
Right.
screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the thing then was like, I always work with old people, and then they show him work with an old guy. You're not a gynecologist
Yeah.
and work with an old guy. That's why I was confused.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it was
Good
an
point.
old
And
man.
he's like, well, he knows about
Yeah.
the aorta stuff. Not like every doctor knows everything.
Mm.
You know. Oh.
Also, did the girl have cancer in her reproductive system?
I'm sorry. What?
When did that come from?
Where the fuck have you pulled that?
No, because if the doctor, he knew the girl with cancer.
What cancer?
12-year-old,
Oh,
12-year-old
the
girl.
12-year-old.
How did
not
he
I.
No, that was in something plastoma.
Yeah, they mentioned what it was, but if
Why
he's
would
not
why would he follow
specialized
her if he's
in
a
that,
gynecologist?
He just knew her. He wasn't treating her.
ah,
He goes on this whole explanation of like he just hung out in their room.
So he would
Which
just
makes
walk
it
into
more
a random
creepy.
patient's
Yeah.
room.
Yeah.
That's so
Creepier.
weird.
And to be fair, I think she probably had a lot of alone time, and so he was probably wanting to, you know,
Cheer her up.
cheer her
Cheer
up
her
and
up,
stuff
yeah.
like that. Yeah.
it's nice,
This is a
but him as a
gynecologist.
character, he doesn't seem. They don't make him out to be a nice guy. Like, oh, I want to help people. No, it doesn't seem like that.
I'm trying to find Sarana's.
He feels very
Serena.
neutral as a character
Yeah,
in terms of
very-
morality.
Okay. Originally terminally ill patient named Sarina Tendoji, under the care of Goro. I mean, she's not under his care.
Yeah, that's wrong.
Before her reincarnation, obsessed over idols and dreamed to become one. It doesn't. He does mention what she's died of, but
I
it's like
think
a
so.
stupid medical
Yeah.
term that I can't. Really
No,
She got dying disease.
It's the same as the
got the
pancreas.
bulb.
yeah.
It's like, I am dying.
They've absolutely just picked up like a random medical journal and flipped through
yeah.
and gone, that one.
Diarrhea.
She died of excessive diarrhea.
We gotta find one of the illnesses that has skulls like next to them to show death.
I think, if I remember
I mean,
correctly.
they implying cancer because she has shaved head.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
from what I remember, it's,
And her body's very weak.
The thing they
'cause
say
at that point.
is something to do with blood plasma, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. I remember that.
Something plastoma. It's to do with like the stuff in your blood just kind of.
It could be, her body had a bariatric chemo and then something blood plasma and just all of that together.
I don't ever remember it being implied that she had cancer.
She had a shaved head.
Yeah, the shaved head.
Other
just
And
than
very
that.
weak and fragile.
Yeah, again, I don't take all of those as like indicators of.
I would.
I do, yeah, because
in
they're used like a
entertainment
lot.
industry,
Yeah.
woman puking in mourning is pregnant, just
Yeah.
like shaved head and weak meets cancer.
Yeah,
No?
I took it.
I
that
just
way.
don't. I kind of just didn't care.
That's fair.
Fair, yeah. God, yeah. It was a trip for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're heavily focused on the part that takes like 10 minutes of the story.
I mean, to be
That's what
fair,
sets it up.
that opening like 10-20 minutes could have been a movie in and of itself
Yeah,
if they had like
true.
given it time to like go over like the whole journey of like the pregnancy.
Would
But they
you
just
really have wanted that, or just
I
him
don't
die
know. It could
suddenly
have been
reincarnated
something. I
as
didn't
baby?
expect reincarnated babies.
Yeah, it came too early for me.
I'm not making a
Not
pregnancy
making a
joke.
joke. No.
Anyway.
Again, it's not really the point of the story though. It's
No.
like very much just like
But they
quickly
make it.
to make
Yeah.
him die and like set up how he knows
Mm-hmm.
what he knows and stuff like that. Again, it's like any reincarnation story. If you focus on
just-
why or how they ended up being reincarnated,
You're
you're
just-
you're missing like the other 99.9%
Yeah.
of what happens.
Still, you can't ignore it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can. That's the point of every other
Should you,
reincarnation
though?
story.
No, I don't think you. Sometimes you just can't.
We gotta watch more reincarnation
No, we
stuff.
don't.
No, you're not indoctrinating us.
So, final thoughts? Anyone?
I guess I can just give my like rating, which was like 7 out of 10. Because like, there's good stuff in here. If you do manage to get past the reincarnated fuckery,
Yeah.
there's something like I say that's like entertaining here. I'd say I'm interested in where it goes, but like you said, it could just completely. Fall
I think it
flat.
has to. I think it has a lot. I think it has a lot of potential to just fall flat in its face.
Yeah,
So-
because to me, the main bit of this whole episode was and she was what I was most interested in.
Yeah,
I
just
think a
fucking-
lot of it for me was like you don't know where it's going. You're like
Exactly.
constantly kind of being just twisted and turned through that first
Yeah.
volume and first episode, and so suddenly you're then gonna have to go into like a very much just normal
Yeah.
story
Like,
after that.
It's like they're starting from zero again.
Yeah,
And
because we
doesn't
don't
make
really
me
know
want to watch
Ruby and
it.
Aqua, and we're
No.
now meeting
Yeah.
Ruby and Aqua 10 years later when they're in
Mm-hmm.
high school, so
Yeah.
we really don't know them at all.
Like they sort of
Yeah.
say at like the end, like, oh, the prologue is now over, and it's like that's
Yeah.
a really long prologue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's Kingdom Hearts level.
That's yeah. Like when I ended the first volume of it, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And then it was like, "Yeah, the first episode like adapts that," and I was like, "I can't suffer alone."
Fuck you. Anyway, so yeah, 7 out of 10. It was overall, I'd say it was good, but you know, could have been better.
yeah. Again, I think if this had been like its own standalone thing, I think it would have been far more interesting. And like if
Oh,
you
yeah.
had still left it open ended as to like, "Oh, now comes my revenge story," like that would have been like a
Yeah.
great
Yeah, that could have been a good sequel.
Absolutely. I
Oh,
feel
yeah.
like it sets up too many things.
yeah.
And as you said, there's a high potential for it to just absolutely be shit in the end.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care at all like you know what when you feel like you want to know what's
Uh-huh.
gonna, and I had no clue.
I'm
Like they set up so many things like
I'm
don't care.
interested in knowing where it goes, but I'm also like I don't want it to ruin
This.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like retroactively.
Yeah.
I get that.
I think for me, I give it a 6.5. Because I just wish they focused more on stuff I liked, but that's a personal
yeah.
thing.
I feel like that's
Yeah.
always the thing you end up
Yes.
saying.
Yeah.
Because
You got to really get past your personal biases.
no.
no, you know,
Both children is good, damn it.
no, I understand. Like if you say, you know, it's a revenge story, I'm like, okay, I get it. But the whole setup is idol,
Yeah.
etc. I'm like, and then you just drop it basically.
That's why I don't think it's like a message about the idol and shit. I think it's
Yeah.
more of like a cynical take on all of these different
Entertainment
tropes.
industry.
Yeah.
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 I don't know. I really don't care about what's coming next. So 5 out of 10
Fair
for
enough.
me.
I'll
True
go
neutral.
with 7 as well. I
Yeah.
think there is potential that it could become like a tropey mess after this.
Because, like, as a first episode, it's both good and bad. Good as in, it's quite entertaining. Bad as in, I don't feel the need to watch more.
Yeah.
This one
Like,
both said,
what,
we don't. we
what
don't-
you want is, to end an episode, I was like, want to go for another one? Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah.
Keep
Yeah,
going.
and
Keep
there's
it
no-
coming.
It didn't
like,
hook you, which is like the main
No.
point of a first episode.
And like it ends with that whole like, oh, now my revenge story begins. There's no like next episode preview. There's nothing to be like, oh well, here's like a teaser of
Yeah.
what's gonna happen. It's like you just
Yeah.
get her
'Cause
being
is it
like,
still coming out? Is it like
yeah,
next
4
week?
episodes are out as we're recording this. It'll probably be 8, I think, by the time this comes
Sorry.
out.
Also, post-credit scene, sweet, but
Yeah, they
Just
could have
the-
used that for something.
Because it's in
Yeah.
there. It's in the montage where they talk about
a bit.
Yeah.
the love of my
Yeah.
children or something, and it's just briefly shown. Like
Yeah.
the one,
Yeah.
the 1 year birthday. I was like, okay,
I just saw it and I was like, that's cute, I guess.
yes, that's it.
Why did also? I want to bring this up. Why did the end credits music go so hard for no reason?
I don't know. That's
You skipped it.
Yeah, you were like, I'm done.
I mean, I don't blame you, but like, it went really hard, and I don't
We
know
also
why.
have to watch this in the morning. So, Not this
No,
morning.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
this
6
morning.
a.m.
Yeah, I usually watch things at night, like in
but
the evening.
Scheduling
Scheduling.
conflict.
I was working.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a Yao Sobi, I think. Done the end theme.
Oh yeah.
I don't know, they kind of usually go unnecessarily hard.
I mean, it was good.
Yeah.
If only ended with Rockstar by Smash Mouth.
Jesus
Again.
Christ.
That joke was in the last
Perfect.
episode.
It must continue.
All right. Thank you very much for listening to this fucking weird episode.
Now you
of
know we
Anime
definitely
Lane.
record these in blocks. No, already.
You can stream Burn the Witch on Crunchyroll, or you can get it on home media via Viz Media, US only. So if you can import it, you can. You can stream Oshinoko on High Dive. New episodes are coming out weekly. What day of the week? I don't know. It's usually a Thursday for High Dive. I'm just guessing. 4 are out by the time this comes out. I think it's 7 or 8.
Give or take.
Give or take. I don't know. Oshinoko might return. Maybe we'll see.
Maybe.
Like we'll see. Maybe see how we feel.
Second, third episode or something like that.
If we hear that it's good.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for
Yeah.
listening.
Thank you.
Welcome to the second season. It's just gonna be the same shit as usual.
Yeah, you won't even tell it's a different
Yeah,
season.
No.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.